fundamentals of real estate. Today, we're here with Glenn Calvin,
Yes.
Guild Mortgage in St. Louis. I'm Angela Dillmon with Keller Williams Chesterfield here in St. Louis, Missouri. And we're talking about the fundamentals of real estate. We're talking about getting on the train. And I got a question for the day. Here's our question today. Now you can tell me, you can just tell me whether this is going to be fun or mental. All right. So the question of the day is, other than a down payment, do I need any other money to buy the house? So if I get one of these fantastic programs and they either grant me money or there's zero down and I'm like, yay, Glenn, I don't need any more money to buy a house. Do I need more money than my down payment?
Well, there's going to be closing costs on the loan. So those are the fees that are going to be associated with buying the house.
Okay, closing costs. That doesn't sound fun to me, Glenn. Is
Well,
there
we can
anything
find
fun
some
about
fun.
Glenn?
That's a tough one.
That's a tough one. Okay, so
tough one,
this
'cause
might
you're
just be
spending
a
money.
mental today. That's all I got to say.
Maybe we can find the fun in lessening the pain of that, or ways that we can work around it. Would you kind of
Glenn's
harken
just a
back to what
happy
we
guy
talked
all the time. He always wants to
Yes,
find
it's
the
fun
joy
buying
in
a house. This
everything.
is what you got to know. So
Everybody needs to know this mental, and it's called closing costs.
yes, and really that's a big circle that we will call closing costs, but I like to break it down into three different buckets.
Okay.
The first bucket is what the cost of the home is. So you're going to have the appraisal, credit report, the lender fees. Then you're also going to have title insurance.
Okay, so you got lender fees. So the lender has fees just for them.
Right.
Then there's closing costs with other people outside the lender. So
Right. The title company.
Yeah, when you go buy a house, you want to know that no one else owns the house than the seller that's selling it to you. Number two, you want to make sure if that seller's got any loans against the house, we call them liens, that they are paid off and there are no liens in the house when you close on the property.
It's
Okay?
an
And
insurance
that's-
policy you pay one time.
And that's title. Title goes, runs all that, make sure the seller pays everything off, make sure they're their only owners, the only people that need to sign, and you have clear title. So that costs money.
It does. And I had a very good friend that came back here. He was actually a missionary in China, and he came back and he bought a house, and he just was going to buy it from another person at church and just wrote out a check for the house and handed it to her.
Whoa.
And I said, Harry, we can't do it that way. Even though he was paying cash for it, I said, we're going to go to the title company, and the title company is going to ensure that you're the rightful owner.
Yeah.
And like you said, make sure that nothing can come back in the past that could affect your ownership or be an extra expense. for
And
you.
that usually minimum runs around $1,200. So
Right.
for
It's
most
just-
people, it's $1,200 to $2,000. Sometimes it can be more than that. Just it's all price point related.
So
Okay?
that's the first bucket, the
That's the
lender
first
fees,
bucket.
the title fees.
the title.
Then
Now
we've
what else we got?
Then we've got what we call the escrow account. So
Okay.
we're always going to require, and I don't want to get too far into the weeds, your insurance is always paid up from the day you close for 12 months in advance.
Okay, so on insurance, on homeowners, you're going to be required to pay a whole year. So it's all paid for the entire year. So let's just say I close February 1st. I'm going to purchase a homeowner's insurance, runs February 1st to January 31. Now, how does that insurance get paid the next year on the anniversary date of my
Yeah,
loan?
and that might be something somebody that never bought a house before doesn't realize. But when you own a house, you've got your payment to pay the loan back. Part of the money goes to principal, part of principal. But then you've also got your insurance and your property taxes.
Right.
So the lender is going to collect that money for you. We call that an escrow account. And they're going to pay the insurance and they're going to pay the property
And they're going to
taxes.
pay the taxes at
So
the
what
end of
they
the
do
year.
is they collect 1/12 of that every month. When the bill comes due, they pay it.
There you go. So
Then-
when you close, though, they got to have a cushion
Right.
because they're not sure if next year that homeowner's insurance isn't going to be $100
Right.
more,
So we're
or the
always gonna
taxes
keep-
won't be $100 more. So they always want how many months of cushion?
It's a 2-month cushion,
2
but
months.
here's the other thing that's interesting. When you close on a loan, from the day you close to the end of that month, we're going to collect that interest at closing. Then you don't have a payment until the next month. So if you were to close on March 15th, we would collect 16 days of interest, and your first payment wouldn't be until May 1st.
Yeah, that's some little tip for anybody renting. You actually get to skip a payment.
You don't
You
really
pay rent.
skip it.
You do because rental payments are paid
Right.
up front on April 1 for the month of April.
And
A
mortgage
house
payments-
payment's May 1 for the month of April.
Yeah.
So you get to go 30 days before you pay, but you're paying in the rear. So that's a story for another day. But insurance, homeowners, you pay a year up front, so that costs money.
Right.
And right now, that's running anywhere in basic insurance about $1,500 at your
Very
lowest
basic,
point,
right.
and then up from there, y'all. So most people are paying $1,500 to $2,500, even $3,000, and insurance is really getting out of hand. But Anyway, that is part of your closing costs.
And then the last thing I would throw in would be you're going to have the building inspection. But the building inspection, most of the time you're going to pay that in advance, because with the building inspection, one of the few things that you have to pay that whether you're going to buy this house or not.
You do.
Right.
You do. But some of the building inspectors, especially some of the ones we do, will wait till closing.
Right.
Now, so the building inspections run anywhere from, you can do your cheapest whole house, $350, but then you'll want a termite, and you'll want to camera the sewer lateral, and then you want somebody to check the gas and the gas lines out and the HVAC out, and then, oh gee, I need to test for radon. So those packages are running anywhere from just your basic whole house $350 all the way up to about $1,500.
And I'll say one thing. I'll brag about my friend Angie. She is the master of deciding what you need for that. You know, if it's a brand new house, you don't need to spend $2,000 on a building inspection. Right,
and you can do it progressive. They can get out there and decide.
And if it's older and you're worried that the camera in the sewer is a big one.
Camera in the sewer is a big one. It's huge. Right,
so
there's a lot of money to repair.
Somebody with you with experience and instinct knows when it warrants to have a really in-depth inspection, because you want to save from buying something that you might repair.
Yeah, that might be a very costly repair.
And the last little thing I say is we're going to need a survey, and again, always rely on your expertise on that.
Lenders don't require surveys anymore. They used to. They don't anymore. So you don't have to do a survey, but on certain properties, it's a really great idea. So all these things roll into one big ball of wax that we call closing costs.
And you can't find any fun about that.
No, they're not much fun. It's all mental today. Sorry, guys.
So here's the way. So you say.
Oh wait. There might be a fun point.
There is a fun one.
How can I get these closing costs covered?
Right.
First of all, how much is it? Okay, so closing costs. What we help people, first-time home buyers, you're usually running around $6,000, but it can be as high as $9,000.
And I would say any good lender,
$6,000 to $7,000 to $8,000 is about the average of people are paying.
And it's going to be less on a smaller house, more on a larger house. And what any good lender is going to do is, before you even go to make that offer, even you're looking at the house, we're going to send you an itemized breakdown of what the closing costs are. We should know what the taxes are, and really the only thing we're guessing on would be what the insurance is, and we're going to be close on that. So you're going to know that up front.
You're going to know it up front. So I've got the $6,000 to $8,000 ball of wax called closing costs. Right. How can I get them covered?
So we've had this discussion many times. You know, you can get a credit from the lender for part of them.
So you can get a credit from a lender. Sometimes the lender has an interest rate where they can build in a little bit of a credit back to you, and that helps alleviate having to save that money.
Yes.
How else can I get it covered?
The seller can pay the closing costs.
Sellers can, and they're allowed to pay closing costs usually up to what percentage? Like 3%?
So it's 3% on a conventional loan with less than 5%
3% of the sale price, by the way.
On an FHA loan,
right?
they can
3% of sale price.
Of the sale price. On an FHA loan, they can pay up to 6%.
Ooh, up to 6%.
And it's different. A VA loan is a little bit different, so you want to make sure on that. The other thing,
you're not going to have 6% closing costs. If you have 6% closing costs, something is wrong. Because if you're buying a $200,000 house, that's $12,000. So you don't need that. But it usually runs right around 3% is kind of where the closing costs kind of fall. And so it is tough right now to get sellers to pay closing costs.
So then we can go back to what we talked about at last week's podcast, is these down payment and closing costs, these assistance programs that the different agencies have. So Beyond Housing, Gateway, the Guild Gateway program, there's a lot of people that'll assist you in paying those closing costs.
Okay, so you can get it paid that way. Now, the way that works for a seller is if you're buying a house, say, for $300,000, and you need $7,000 in closing costs, you could say, "Hey, Mr. Seller, I'll pay you $307. Credit me back the $7,000 at closing," and then you can literally walk into closing with no money.
You can. It's got to have to appraise.
It can be done, and it does have to appraise for that. Yeah. So, what I say to you is it's hard in this market because of low inventory to get a seller to do, because there's so many buyers who have figured that out and got it covered. Right. There are gifts. You can get a gift for it from parent, grandparent. Has to be somebody related to you, right? Yep. Somebody related to you can gift you the money. And if you can get an off-market property, so that's another way to go here. If you're looking for property and think, "Oh, I'm not seeing anything out there," we have off-market properties. A lot of homes are being sold that never ever hit the market. These are easier to get these closing costs paid for. We can always, almost 100%, almost always get closing costs fed into that sale price. So you can borrow the closing costs, save that $5-6 grand. Let's just say, well, I got $6-7 grand saved. where you could save it and put it in the flooring or the paint or the new counters or whatever, and feed it into the loan. So there is a way to do it. Off market is one of the best ways right now.
Closing costs are expensive, but the thing is, and I know it isn't fun, but to know, just to make sure you're with an experienced lender, with an experienced agent.
Yeah.
I know 2 of them, and have them break down the closing costs and know what you're looking at.
By the way, this is what sets lenders apart. I have seen loans where the closing costs just from the lender are like $5,000, $6,000, and $7,000. No, N-O. Okay, that's all I got to say. Do not do it. If they're advertising on the TV or radio, their closing costs are going to be astronomical. All right, so Guild. When you go to Guild, for instance, you got a commitment fee, a small processing fee, the appraisal, credit report, and it generally adds up to be around what?
It's going to be different for each one, but I would say that's probably going to be close to $1,500.
Yeah, somewhere around there, some ballpark of that. If you're paying $5,000 just to the lender to get a loan, no, N-O, do not do it. All right, you need to go get another. You need to get another bid. But I just got to tell you, loan closing costs not the same at every lender, guys. This is
maybe
huge.
That's the fun.
This is huge. Call Glenn. You're going to get the lowest closing cost you can. All right, till next week. Thanks for joining us here at the Fundamentals of Real Estate. I'm sorry it was all mental day, but hopefully we made you smile at some point. All right, so I'm your host, Angela Dillmon with Keller Williams here in St. Louis, Missouri. And this is Glenn Calvin
at Gil Mortgage.
Mortgage.
Yeah.
Till next week. We'll see you then.
Thanks.